Have you ever experienced this sensation? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a perfect Sunday morning. The sunlight pours through the window crevices like liquid gold. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee permeates the air, rich and comforting. And right beside you is the person you love most, offering a gentle smile. Everything is peaceful, completely whole, void of any worries about bills or the crushing pressures of the outside world. It is a moment of happiness so pure you wish time would simply freeze forever. Yet, in that very instant of peak perfection, a cold, visceral sensation slithers down your spine. Your heart skips a beat, not out of medical necessity, but because an invisible dread has suddenly seized your chest. A voice whispers inside your head, echoing from the darkest recesses of your subconscious. Stop smiling. You are being too happy. And do you know the price you will have to pay for this? That is the moment you realize that peace is merely the omen of a violent storm. Welcome back to the sanctuary of Scarechology, where we peel back the thorny layers of the human mind to reveal the monsters lurking within. Today, we will not speak of ghosts, nor will we discuss serial killers. Instead, we face the cruelest paradox of humanity, a psychological syndrome that twists God's greatest gift into a venomous curse. It is called Cherophobia, the fear of happiness. Let me tell you about the true nature of this monster. In ancient Greek, Chiro means to rejoice, but when coupled with phobia, we arrive at a concept that sounds utterly absurd. Why would human beings fear the very thing they spend their entire lives searching for? To understand it, do not imagine cherophobia as depression. A depressed person lies in a pit, unable to see the light. A person with cherophobia sees the light, but believes it is a lure set by the grim reaper. To them, happiness is not an emotional state. It is a high-interest loan from destiny. If you laugh 3 times today, you will have to cry 10 times tomorrow to settle the debt. It resembles a ruthless trade agreement with the universe, where every joy is priced against a corresponding future pain. You live in a state of high alert, like a soldier in a trench, daring not to sleep soundly because you fear that peace is simply the moment the enemy is reloading. To demonstrate this existential dread, we must travel back in time to ancient Greece, to one of the most haunting stories about the price of luck, recorded by the historian Herodotus. This is not just a legend, it is the ultimate case study for the psychology of fearing perfection. It is the story of the tyrant Polycrates of Samos. Polycrates was a man who had everything. He possessed immense wealth, absolute power, and most importantly, a terrifyingly unnatural luck. Every military campaign he launched ended in resounding victory. Every enemy automatically fell before him. His wealth multiplied exponentially without obstacle. His fortune was so brilliant that it became grotesque. His close ally, Pharaoh Amasis of Egypt, upon witnessing this endless streak of luck, did not send congratulations. Instead, he sent a letter filled with anxiety. The gods are jealous. A life that runs too smoothly is a sign of a terrible calamity waiting at the end of the road. It is better to suffer some misfortune interwoven with luck than to have complete success, only to lose everything. That warning struck the deepest hidden fear within Polycrates. He understood he was borrowing too much from fate. To appease the gods, to prepay his debt to the universe, Polycrates decided to manufacture his own pain. He possessed an emerald ring set in gold, a treasure he valued more than his own life. Polycrates rowed a boat far out to sea, stood before the vast ocean, and removed the ring. He gazed at the green glint of the gem one last time, then hurled it into the dark waters. The ring sank, taking his greatest sacrifice with it. Polycrates returned to his palace, his heart aching from the loss, but his mind relieved. He believed he had cheated the system, that he had tasted loss to preserve his life. But fate is an executioner with a cruel sense of humor. Just a few days later, a fisherman caught a massive fish, strangely beautiful and large, and presented it to the king as a gift. When the royal chefs sliced open the fish's belly to prepare the feast, they heard the clinking sound of metal against the knife. And can you guess what lay inside that stomach full of blood and gore? It was the emerald ring. It had returned. When the servant, trembling, presented the fish-scented ring to Polycrates, the blood drained from the tyrant's face. That was no miracle. That was a death sentence. The return of the ring meant the gods had rejected his sacrifice. They did not want a ring. They wanted everything. His luck had been sealed, only to await its collapse. And true enough, not long after, Polycrates was lured into a trap by an enemy, killed and crucified, his body left to rot under the scorching sun, ending a glorious life with the most wretched death imaginable. The story of Polycrates is the perfect metaphor for cherophobia. Those who suffer from this syndrome always carry the mindset of Polycrates staring at the returned ring. They believe that if things are going too well, the universe is sharpening its knife. In modern psychology and neuroscience, this phenomenon is no longer the punishment of gods, but a critical glitch in the brain's defense mechanism. Imagine your brain has a danger warning center called the amygdala. In a normal person, the amygdala activates when there is a real threat. But in those who have experienced trauma, especially childhood trauma, where joy was abruptly severed by tragedy, the amygdala becomes hypersensitive. When you feel happy, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, hormones that create a sense of euphoria. However, for a person with cherophobia, this sudden surge of chemicals is interpreted by the brain as a signal of loss of control. Their brain has been programmed to believe that the safest state is one of vigilance, anxiety, or mild sadness. When happiness strikes, it disrupts that familiar equilibrium, causing the brain to flash a red alert. Watch out! We are letting our guard down. An attack is imminent. Scientists call this mechanism the intolerance of uncertainty. For them, a known pain is more bearable than an unknown joy that could end at any moment. They would rather choose to live in a familiar hell than step into a strange heaven where they do not know where the emergency exit is located. Let us delve deeper into the reality of this, into the corners of daily life, to see how this syndrome ravages a human being. Have you ever sabotaged a relationship that was going perfectly well? There are people who, upon finding someone who truly loves and cherishes them, begin to panic. They pick fights for no reason, exhibit irrational jealousy, or coldly push the other person away. Outsiders looking in call them crazy or ungrateful. But deep down, it is an act of self-defense. They would rather be the one to end it, rather be the one to smash the crystal vase themselves, than to live in terror waiting for the day it falls on its own. Inflicting pain on themselves gives them the illusion of control. If I hurt myself, then destiny cannot hurt me anymore. That is the twisted logic of cherophobia. Or look at parties. You will see those with this syndrome often standing tucked away in the corner. Not because they are introverted or hate socializing, but because they fear their own laughter. There is a psychological term called magical thinking. They believe there is a supernatural link between the act of laughing and a subsequent accident. If they laugh hysterically at a birthday party today, then on the way home, their car will crash. If they receive news of a promotion, their parents will fall gravely ill tomorrow. These thoughts are not fleeting. They take root. wrapping around the mind like poisonous vines, draining vitality, turning joy into poison. They become ghosts in their own lives, avoiding the light of happiness just as a vampire fears the sun, simply because they are afraid of being burned. I want you to recall the image of Marilyn Monroe or Judy Garland. Despite being surrounded by halos of fame, adoration, and applause, their eyes always held a deep, lingering sadness, a constant insecurity. Judy Garland, the innocent Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, lived her entire life in fear of happiness because she believed she was unworthy, or that every glory had to be paid for with extreme loneliness. And the brutal reality proved her distorted belief correct, creating a vicious cycle. The more you fear tragedy, the more tragedy finds you, and when tragedy arrives, it reinforces the belief that happiness is a trap. So, what are we to do with this Polycrates curse? Is there any way to throw the ring away without it returning in the belly of a fish? The answer lies in acceptance, a ruthless but humane acceptance. You must understand that life is not a ledger book for a cosmic bank. Happiness and suffering do not cancel each other out, nor are they inevitable consequences of one another in a simple karmic law. They occur in parallel, chaotic and random. The fact that you laugh today is not the cause of your tears tomorrow. Disasters happen because the nature of life is impermanence, not because you dared to enjoy a moment of joy. Western philosophers often speak of Stoicism, of preparing the mind for the worst. But for those afraid of happiness, the antidote is not preparing for pain, but practicing the courage to be vulnerable. Happiness, by its very nature, is the most vulnerable state. When you love someone, you give them the power to hurt you. When you enjoy success, you accept the risk of failure. The fear of happiness is actually the fear of that vulnerability. But my friend, look into the shadows to see that without light, shadows cannot exist. If you refuse happiness to avoid pain, you simultaneously refuse the meaning of existence. You become a stone, incapable of feeling pain, but also incapable of feeling the warmth of the sun. Perhaps instead of trying to prepay fate like Polycrates, let us learn to live in the present tense in the most extreme way possible. When joy comes, grab it, hold it tight, even knowing it might vanish tomorrow. Do not ask, when will the tragedy strike? Instead, tell yourself, right now, in this very second, I am okay. The greatest courage of a human being is not enduring suffering, but daring to be happy in a world full of uncertainty. Do not let the monster of Cherophobia fool you into thinking you are unworthy, or that you are breaking the rules of the game. You were born to experience the full spectrum of emotions, including the most brilliant colors. Do not let the ring of destiny haunt you. Wear it on your hand, and if one day it must be lost, then at least you once possessed its beauty. This journey into the mysterious mind will continue, exploring corners no one has dared to touch. If you feel a resonance in the stories of Scarechology, if you want to join me in peeling back the thorny layers of the human condition, quietly press the subscribe button and leave your contemplation below. It could be your own story, or simply a greeting from the shadows. I will wait for you there, in the comments section, where we can share our fears so that no one has to face them alone.
It felt like
Thank you for listening, and I wish you, for just this one night, the courage to dream a happy dream without waking up in terror.